Hey everyone, good to have you here with us today as we finish up our week through Psalm chapter 92. Just by way of review, the first day we looked at the duty of worship and how when we understand the loving kindness and faithfulness of God, we have a moral responsibility to worship God. Then we looked at the delight of our worship and how when we understand the fullness of God, it creates joy in our heart, which then overflows in worship to God. Then we looked at the depth of worship from Psalm 92 and how when God calls us to really look at the richness and the fullness of who He is. And then yesterday we started to look at the direction of our worship. And here at the end of Psalm 92, the psalmist contrasts two groups of people. He contrasts the wicked who don't understand the things of God. And then he says they sprout up and they flourish like grass, which means that they're here just for a little bit and then all their works are done away with very quickly. But then he contrasts those groups of people with the righteous. If you look at the end of Psalm 92 and verse 12, he said, "The righteous man will flourish like the palm tree. He will grow like a cedar in Lebanon." Just as the wicked person flourishes just like grass that withers away very quickly, he said, the righteous person, the person who seeks after God with all of their heart and all of their life, they don't flourish like grass. They flourish like the palm tree. They grow like the cedars of Lebanon. When the psalmist wrote this, these were two of the greatest, biggest, strongest trees of his world. And he says in the same way that you and I, when we devote our entire being to God, that we're going to remain strong and beautiful in the eyes of God. In verse 13, he says, planted in the house of the Lord. When we come into the presence of God, when we remain in the presence of God, he says they will flourish in the courts of our God. In verse 14, he says they will still yield fruit in old age. They will be full of sap and very green. He said the righteous, when we pursue after him with every part of our being, he says we're going to flourish. He also says we're going to be fruitful. He says they will still yield fruit in old age. And he says we will remain fresh. He says they will be full of sap and very green. That's why it's important for us not to seek after the things of this world, but to seek after the things of God. Because when we do that, God keeps us flourishing and fruitful and fresh. But why does he do that? The psalmist gives us the answer in verse 15. To declare that the Lord is upright, he is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. The reason why he does that for the righteous is so that we can praise him. So today I would encourage you to seek after God, to put behind the things of this world, and be single-minded in following after Jesus so that you can flourish and be fruitful and remain fresh, so that you can continue to offer praises to God. It's been good this week going through Psalm 92. I look forward to being back with you again on Monday.